Inspired by a friend who asked me what was wrong with her. Why does it seem like nobody likes her? What is the problem? Why is she in and out of relationships? You'd be surprised what I told her and what I tell you if you feel this way. So stick around with your girl Angie and let's talk love. So this podcast was inspired by a conversation that I had with someone who was genuinely asking me a question of what is wrong with her. And I told her that something is wrong with you, but there's something wrong with all of us. And as I got off the phone, I started to contemplate to myself why women tend to take things like this on. Why do we think that something solely has to be wrong with us as to why men don't want us, or why dating seems to be a nightmare, or whatever the case may be? And I started thinking about all the things that women have to go through, taking on the kids. Like, whether you're a single mother, the kids are all your responsibility. Even sometimes married, like, mom is always the go-to person. We have to fight as women in our careers. You think about people that are lawyers or doctors or in high positions that men are supposed to be in. We're always constantly having to fight and take on that role of it's me, being the it girl, staying fit, staying in shape. All these things we take on as women. So it's like, well, there's another thing just to take on. Like, it has to be me. I have to be the problem. And I really sat down and thought about this, and just even dating back to when our grandparents and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers in their generation, they took on a lot as well. They provided for their household in a way that a man couldn't. And so as I was probing through this, you guys know I always, like I say, I get inspired by things that I hear and conversations that I have with people, and I turn it into a learning opportunity to promote on Love Inspiry podcast. And so I started thinking about this topic and just some things that I wanted to share when it came to women thinking that something is wrong with them. Solely, because there is something wrong with you. But again, like I said, there's something wrong with all of us. And I'll explain that later on as we go through this podcast. The first thing that I wanted to share about this is the one you want may not be the one for you. And when we're truly thinking about this particular thing, I know a lot of the times as women, we have this idea of, oh my goodness, this is my person. He has to like me, this, that, and the third. This might be the one. And not realizing that God has uniquely designed the person that we are meant to be. That person that is meant for us is out there. And so I look at some of the things that's wrong with me. I look at some of the things that's wrong with my husband, Nate. And I'm like, there's no other person that would want to accept that in each other but me and him. And so that's what I'm here to tell you, is that you may think that dating is a nightmare and you're tired of dating around, but I can assure you that you're not the person that wants to get into a relationship and go the distance, have that tenured relationship be a year in, only to find out that this wasn't your person. And so that's why I am promoting dating and not looking at dating around and failed dating relationships as failure. You may have to fail to succeed. You have to try to succeed. And the only way to get there is through trial and error. And that's all that dating is. And so I don't think people should look at somebody not liking them as something is wrong with them. That's just not the person for you. Everybody won't like your personality. Everybody won't like who you are. Now that doesn't mean, and we'll talk about that in another, something that I want to bring out as well. Everybody doesn't have to like you, and everybody won't like you. But still, that doesn't mean that we don't need to work on our attitude, our optimism, or little kinks that we have. And I know it's so cliche to say, and I hate to even say it, but rejection is your protection. So what you think was blocking you or trying to hurt you, God was really protecting you from whatever this person. Y'all know how it is. We all be on good behavior when we first start dating. But as we go to distance, them true colors start coming out. So you don't know what God was blocking you from as to why, the situation didn't work out. And so we should not look at that's one of the points that I wanted to bring out. We shouldn't look at it like that, in the essence of this just may not be your person. The second thing that I wanted to share as I was meditating on this is we have to stop letting society, social media, and all these things tell us what we should be. So that not so attractive girl that we see with the husband, right? We see her sometimes, and I know people like this, and it's like, well, so and so has this man, or how did she get a man, or how did she stay married, or stuff. As crazy as I was back in the day, I'm sure people are surprised that I've been married for as long as I have, and I'm sitting here coaching people through their relationships and stuff like that. But comparison not only steals your joy, but it blocks your growth too. Because if you're constantly focused on the other person, if you're constantly focused on what they're doing, you're living in their space. So you can't grow because, and here's the thing, we're all different. You may be ahead of me in this area. I may be a little bit behind. I'm still on my pace. I'm still on my lane, what's designed for me. But if I try to get up in your space and in your lane, I'm instantly going to fail because I'm not where I need to be. I'm not where God has me positioned to grow and learn and to develop. And when we compare ourselves to other women, that's what we're doing. We're blocking our growth. We're blocking the opportunity to look at our personality flaws and look at the attributes that we need to work on because we're focused on her and the fact that she has a man. And we're doing it like, well, something's got to be wrong with me because this unattractive girl has a man, and this woman that's a cheater and a hoe, she has a man. We're not focused on ourselves. And I talked about that in a previous podcast about how we have to stop idolizing what we see. And I know sometimes it could be hard because we want different things. We want things for our life. And when we see other people having them, it's like, well, damn, why can't I have that too? But there's things God has designed for us to learn in that moment. And we have to live in our moment. We have to live in our lane in order for us to see it and then have the person that God designed for us to have. So I wanted to tell people to stop looking at other people. The comparison that you're doing is only hindering you from getting to that place in that relationship that you desire to be in. Gandhi said, and I want to quote this right, he said, "I will not allow anyone to walk in my mind or dirty my feet." And one of the things that I took away from this is when you compare yourself to another woman, you are allowing yourself to be impacted by what you see in her instead of what you see in yourself. And that's what I want to leave you guys with when in talking about this particular subject, and what I gathered from the whole subject in its totality is you can't be impacted by other people. So I know I told you guys in the beginning that I told her that something was wrong with her and that, you know, there was something wrong with all of us. And so I don't want people to get it twisted. This does not mean that because something is wrong with all of us that it's okay, well, I don't need to do any internal work. It's quite the opposite. We still need to do the internal work. It's not one of those things where it's a free game and you can do whatever you want. It's about evolution, and the only way to evolve is to challenge yourself. And unless you're a narcissist, you know things that you need to work on. You know behaviors that you need to change. And sometimes I think it's easier for a woman to blame themselves, right? As opposed to identifying that there are things that they need to work on, that there are things that they need to heal from. And one of that is talk, and then one of that is the actual walk. We can say anything, but to take action is another level. And a lot of women don't want to take accountability. They just want to blame men. They want to blame themselves to an extent, not all the way, right? Because it's not never our fault. But it just becomes easier to blame themselves or the man. Notice that most women that say something is wrong with me, or why doesn't this man like me, or whatever the case may be, if you think about it, if you really watch them, they don't say, I know I have things to work on, or I know I should be working on this. It's just, what is wrong with me? I think we need to be focusing more on attacking what we can do as opposed to why this is happening to us. And so accountability is key, and all that. We have to take accountability for the things that we're saying and the things that we are doing in our relationships, and learning and growing and evolving. And so the fourth thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to this topic, and it's something that I see in women that think this way of what is wrong with me, and it's, you can't get caught up on what you have, but rather who you are. So many women think that their assets define them. Many women believe that the job, the career, the home, the car, if I have all this stuff, I'm going to be an attractive woman. And while to a man, it might be attractive to know that you have your stuff together, right? That's a good thing that a woman has her stuff together. But it doesn't make her who she is. Because a lot of women, they have it together, and as soon as they open their mouth and the man sees how you think and what you value and what you believe, suddenly you become unattractive, and those assets that you think will get you a man is not going to keep him. And what I'm saying here is, good quality men are not attracted to your assets. They're attracted to your personality. They are more so interested in how you can support them. How are you a peaceful person? You know, what do you bring to the table in that aspect, personality wise, as opposed to what kind of career you have and what kind of car you're driving. I think it's important for women to think about it in the sense of your assets are not really important. Is men don't want a woman with attitude and just pessimistic all the time. Like, they want to go the distance with somebody that doesn't stir up conflict, somebody that has solutions to problems, somebody that has conflict management skills, somebody who has peace. And assets don't mean good attributes. Assets doesn't mean that you'll bring peace to the relationship. So we need to focus more on who we are and not what we have. I always say, and I'll say this until the day I die, that possessions, careers, and all that stuff comes and goes. But your character is what will define you. Your character is what will determine how you handle that situation should it go away. And decent men, they want women of good character. So don't focus more on your assets, you know, especially if you're a woman who's thinking something is wrong with me, I have it going on, I have the good career, I have this and that. Don't focus on your assets, because your assets is not what they're looking at. The fifth thing that I want to share about this, and this may ruffle some feathers, but that's okay. A lot of women say this with lower quality men. I hear this mindset a lot with women who are with lower quality men. And what I mean by lower quality men is men that are bums. They're just flat out bums. They are not motivated by anything. They're not working towards anything. Men that aren't doing anything to go to the next level, whether that be career-wise or, you know, personal, whatever the case may be. Nothing tears my nerves up more than a woman saying that about herself only to find out she is with somebody who doesn't even care about themselves. I don't care if you had kids with him. I don't care if your mama like him. I don't care about none of that stuff. If he's not elevating himself, he dang sure ain't gonna be able to elevate you. And what happens with this? That negativity is going to trickle over into your mind and get in your head and start having you thinking things that you should not be thinking about yourself. It's important to understand this. Who you have around you, whether friend or romantically, matters. And who you are choosing to date is probably causing that negativity that you feel towards yourself. I want you guys to hear me real close when I say this. Lower quality men aren't going to make you feel better about yourself because they don't feel good about themselves. So, for all my ladies out there that are going through this and you have somebody and because you know if you in a relationship with a bum or not. You know if you're in a relationship with somebody that don't care about elevating and growth and development and all that stuff that we should be caring about. And I'm gonna break it down in a parable for you guys. I was reading a meme the other day or a story or something, And it was talking about how a candy bar or a soda or something like that can cost different amounts in different places. So like, you know, a candy bar costs like $20 in a movie theater, but if you go to a gas station, it could cost $1. If you go to the airport, it can cost $5. It costs different amounts in the different locations. And how the only thing that changes the value of that candy bar is the location that the candy bar is in. And so I'm telling this story to help you understand and see that sometimes your location is the problem. Many of us are in relationships and have been in relationships with people that we don't need to be in a relationship with. And I'm here to tell you to take your candy bar to another location. Change the place because they are not understanding your value. The sixth thing that I want to share with you guys about this particular topic. So, you guys obviously remember me telling you that women who think something is, you know, wrong with them, and I told you that there is something wrong with you and blah, blah, blah. Women that are picky tend to have this mindset the most. And the reason why they have this mindset is because when you're picky, you become less flexible. And when you are less flexible, that means you're not willing to compromise with your significant other. And ultimately, it also means, and we'll break this down, compromise versus sacrifice later, it also means you'll have a hard time making sacrifices as well with your significant other. What this does is make you hard to deal with you know, with your partner, especially with men. And in this case, you are the problem. And the best way to combat this is to get you 3 non-negotiables. Nobody is going to be 100% what you need. And I think this generation has taken and put in their mind that a person has to be 100% of what I need. No, that's why they have this thing where a man can have a woman and she's 80% of what he wants. But that 20% that's missing, he sees in another woman and he goes out and cheats. And he doesn't realize that in all actuality, that 80% is exactly what he needed. It was right at home. We have to stop being picky. We need to be flexible. We need to be understanding. And that's where compassion comes into place. And that's where this generation's lack of understanding and wanting to work towards things becomes a problem for us, because we don't understand this. We don't understand this concept of 100% does not exist. It just doesn't. And the last thing that I want to share when it comes to this particular topic is I always hear women saying, like, or not all women, but most women saying men ain't shit and all men this and all men that. And it's key to focus on what you learn from the situation as opposed to what didn't work in the situation. And the reason why is because when you have the mindset of what did I learn as opposed to why this didn't work out, you gain more than losing. What ends up happening is you end up changing the trajectory of your next relationship by thinking about, okay, what can I gain from this particular situation? Many of us are going into new relationships with the expectations of failure. And when this happens, we are looking for something as opposed to focusing on being in the moment and building something new, building something genuine and organic. You can't grow dead roots. When this happens, you will find yourself in and out of relationships, and that's because you aren't learning. You aren't applying your knowledge. And this is why you are part of the problem and why you could be the sole problem. These are just my personal thoughts on women that think that something is wrong with them when a relationship doesn't work out or whatever the case may be. And I just wanted to share these 7 tips and 7 thoughts that I had in my mind, and hope that this helped you guys in some capacity. I hope that you drop your thoughts below and let me know what hit a nerve for you. What is something that you need to work on? So for those who don't know, I'm Angie Roll, the teen wife that turned my struggles into strength, marital woes into wins. But no, yeah, I made the mistake so you don't have to. I'll see you guys all next week as we talk about sacrifice versus compromise.